Jai everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Vihangam Yogi Global Online Satsang. I myself am Avner from Sydney, and I'm again excited to bring another week of this beautiful platform to all of you wonderful listeners. I know many of you are joining from all over the world. If you're here for the first time, a warm welcome. If you're here for another session, thank you for coming back. Thank you for your ongoing support. So, this series which we've been embarking upon for the last few weeks of controlling mind, it's been a very interesting one. And I'm sure it's been giving a lot of you things to reflect on, things that you've been thinking through. And even for myself, as I've been, discussing these concepts with our speakers, it really gives a moment of reflection. In the first week, we heard about how controlling mind is such a vital process and the different things involved in it. We heard all about, when we should meditate and where we should meditate as our first lesson. In the next week after that, we heard about the importance of diet and sleep and the principles around these things, about aiming to be sufficient and not going too far. And last week we started to tie these things together, and we started to look at what a daily schedule should look like. And where we reached last week, if you tuned in, if you weren't able to, we have recordings available on our different platforms, so please feel free to take a look. But last week where we reached was we were starting to build this idea of what a daily schedule should look like. What is a day in the life of a Vihangam Yogi? And we had a really interesting discussion with Vijay last week about the different legs or different pillars of Dharma, which is how to live a principled life. And this week, really what we are excited to do is to continue that discussion as part of Controlling Mind Lesson 3, a daily schedule session 2. So, as we're going through, of course, I'll be asking Vijay many questions, and we'll be getting involved with the questions which you wonderful listeners have. But hopefully today you'll be able to take away some things and apply them to your daily life. So let's jump into it for this week and get started. As mentioned when we began, the topic of today is Controlling Mind Lesson 3, a daily schedule session 2. As you're thinking through the different things which we've already kind of touched on, or even if you had queries about the weeks which have gone by, we have 2 avenues available for you listeners to get involved and discuss these things with us. The first is slido.com/VYGOS, which is just coming on screen now, and a WhatsApp number which will just be on screen in a moment. So as we're going through, if you have any questions, please do drop them on either of these platforms. And we're really keen and excited to get involved with you all. So let's move toward our discussion for today. As we've kind of proceeded for the last few weeks. So again, this week, we're really lucky to have Vijay Kumar ji from the US joining us. Vijay ji is a software engineer by profession and an instructor of Vihangam Yogi. He's been teaching people about these concepts in many parts of the world, from India to China to the US since 2007. And he's currently based in New Jersey, serving as the president of the North American Institute of Vihangam Yogi. So we're very lucky to have him here with us today. I hope you can hear me, Vijay.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here back again. Thank you.
Yes, lovely to have you again. So Vijay, we embarked on this quest last week, and perhaps just for the benefit of our listeners, I'll just try to quickly summarize some of the things we discussed and then hand it over to you to maybe just elaborate a bit more. But we kind of started by talking about Dharma and what a dharmic life is about. And we were trying to place that in the context of how it aligns with a daily schedule. And we started to go through a few of the qualities of Dharma. So these were Dhriti, which is patience, Chama, which is forgiveness, Dham, which is a detached state where your sensory organs are detached from the different parts of the world, Asteyam, which is not stealing, Shoch, which is purity of body, mind, intellect, and soul, and Indriya Nigra, which is withdrawing the sensory organs from subjects, controlling them, and T, which is the highest scale of intellect. So we kind of reached we got through about 6 of these. I think we were just starting on T. We got about through six of these 10. And we were trying to understand how Dharma relates to daily schedule and our lives in the modern day. So perhaps if you could just shortly remind us, what is Dharma and how do the qualities of Dharma at a high level help us understand what our daily schedule should look like?
Right. So, when we try to understand Dharma, we would only find ourselves elevated into a state which is more pious, more peaceful, more human kind of thing. Because these are the qualities which makes us human being different from the other species that we see around. So through this understanding that we are developing from last session, we will only be able to enrich ourselves better in our 24 hours of routine that we follow. It is something like doing a farming. A farmer works very hard to grow the crop in the land. Similarly, once we understand these righteous qualities which make us very special, only when we understand these qualities we can then grow them in every day of our life. Every 24 hours that we spend, it will be then spent very fruitfully in growing this efficiently, so that we can only elevate ourselves into the higher state of our intellect, the higher state of our peacefulness, higher state of our blissfulness. In all dimensions we should only grow day by day. And this is why we need to pay close attention to these righteous qualities. And then we'll discuss how in our daily life we can grow them.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And just to clarify that for anyone tuning in for the first time in this series, as Vijay just mentioned, the qualities of Dharma which we're going through are the foundational elements upon which we'll be figuring out what we should do. But first, we are trying to understand what are the principles by which we determine what we should do and what we're trying to develop inside of us. So, VAG, we ended last week on Indriya Nigra. We were going through these 10 qualities 2 at a time. So we have 2 more sets to get through, or more so to discuss. And then after that, we can start to look at what practices we need to develop in our life. So if we could start with where we ended last week, which is Dhi and Vidya, perhaps if you could explain these 2 and what these foundational elements mean, and then we'll go to the last 2.
Yeah, thank you. Before I elaborate further, I would like to offer my prayer to my master. Sadguru Pankaj Charan Raja Vanda Param Punit Jahi Kripa Bhav Dukha Mite Bhakti Mile Satachita. It's only the glory of my master. The scripture calls for way that we are getting the wisdom and the force to speak anything about Dharma. I am myself growing into that path, but it is the glory of the master and the books for Ved that we are able to discuss on these topics. Sadhguru has described all the entities of spirituality and every milestone of meditation journey and spiritual journey in the book called Swarved. Once you read Swarved, it raises your bar, the spiritual bar to that highest scale, that after that, there is no looking back, because then you know that now you don't have time even to rest. You understand how much you have to achieve in life, how much more you have to grow in life, because it raises your expectation to that highest scale. So talking in that line itself, he he spoke about dhi. Dhi means buddhi, but buddhi means intellect. But the intellect of what scale? Intellect of the highest scale. How does it matter? I mean, am I not doing good with whatever scale of intellect I have? It matters because, the quality of life that we are living with, whatever the scale of intellect we have, we still faces several frictions, several sufferings, which is unnecessary. It is unnecessary because our intellect is not able to pass through it. We just fail to make the right judgment on those occasions, and then we suffer. Our guru says all the scientific inventions that the scientists have invented so far, though it looks wondrous, but one should not think that they have become the most intellectual by such small inventions. Our guru says the intellect that the modern scientists have so far is still very fractional part of what a human can reach up to. And there is a process by which you can raise your intellect. And that process is the process of yoga abhyas. By yoga abhyas, it means to pull the consciousness from outward to inward. So there is a process through which, when you collect your consciousness, which is otherwise flowing outward through your sensory organs, which is otherwise trying to understand the things which is there around through the sensory organs. When one stops doing that and first work upon sharpening the intellect by pulling all the consciousness inside, by gathering the stillness of the mind, the stillness of the consciousness, the stillness of the soul. When there is a complete stillness inside, that is when the intellect all of a sudden will raise to a scale where you will gain the judgment power, you'll get the sensory power, so much more than what you have right now, that things which were a puzzle for you will all of a sudden be something which you can comprehend very easily. So our guru says dhi is that higher scale, the highest scale of intellect, which only a yogi attains. And this highest scale of intellect is our dharma. What it means is we must aspire to grow our intellect by a daily practice of meditation. By daily practice of meditation, we would only grow our intellect day by day eventually to reach to a scale when something which is a puzzle will become known to you. And this being dharma, we must practice this on daily basis. The next one is vidya. Again, vidya, what vidya literally means is the knowledge. And we all have been aspiring for, several kind of knowledge, wisdom, based on which fields we are in. But our ancient scientists, the sages, the seers, they divided the knowledge into two categories. They said, Dve vidye viditabhye iti hasmi yad brahmvido badanti, paracha aparacha. There are two streams of knowledge. One which is perceivable by the sensory organs, and one which is beyond sensory organs. One is called aparavidya, meaning something which is within the reach of the sensory organs, and the other one is called paravidya, one which is beyond the reach of sensory organs, beyond the reach of the mind and the senses. The paravidya, the one that takes your consciousness beyond the reach of your senses and could comprehend the entity which is otherwise not perceivable through sensory organs. Entities like who am I? Who is the spirit inside? If you bisect the body, you won't find the spirit inside the body, but it exists. You won't find because you're trying to find it with the sensory organs. But the entities like the spirit, the soul that we are, the entity like consciousness, the supreme consciousness which pervades this entire cosmos, is the subject of paravidya. And the vidya being one of the 10, the limbs of dharma, is specifically indicating us to go for paravidya, the knowledge that could liberate us from the limits of indriya is actually called vidya. Sa vidya ya vimuktaye. The vidya, the knowledge, is the one that liberates us from the limits, from the constraints, from the boundaries, because we are unbound. We have capability to comprehend this entire cosmos. But don't you think that today, by being dependent on your eyes, your ears, you are constraining yourself, you are limiting yourself? Whereas the truth is that you are unbound. Your consciousness can reach beyond what your eyes can reach, beyond what your ears can reach. And that is our duty. When we are born as a human being, this is our duty to regain the power that you have lost. Very fortunately, we have come to the human birth. And it is only in the human birth that you have these tremendous capabilities, which we have not yet leveraged. We are only using our sensory organs to attain the knowledge which is called aparavidya. But the whole gamut of paravidya is untouched by us. If we still don't wake up and understand this opportunity that only being in human, we have an opportunity to even get the wisdom of paravidya. Even try to touch and experience and perceive the entities which are conscious in nature. If we don't aspire for that, that means we are not leading the life in the human dharma. By getting birth in the human body, this is our duty to make the best use of the human body. Otherwise, there is no use of human birth if we live the life like any other species. So, this quality of dharma, the vidya, motivate us to discover the hidden sense, the hidden power within this human body. If you tap that power, after which there are certain mysteries of the universe which will no more remain a mystery. Whether be it the vibrations which the NASA scientists found all over in all the coordinates of the space, or be the reason why this universe is accelerating. When the scientists are puzzled because they're trying to find the answer of these puzzle in the aparavidya, in the gamut of aparavidya, the answer actually lies in the gamut of paravidya. Who is imparting that vibration in this universe? Why the universe is expanding with accelerating speed? The answer lies in the wisdom of paravidya, which is discovered by the technique of yoga abhyas, by the technique of Vihangam Yoga. And this is what makes Vihangam Yoga very special. Vihangam Yoga gives us the technique through which you can awaken your hidden sense of consciousness. And once that sense awakens, then all these mysteries are no more a mystery for you. Everything becomes crystal clear. In fact, you also happen to discover a secret door in your body through which, when you take your consciousness outside, you happen to discover what exists even beyond this universe. So there's so much to talk. There's so many subjects which belong to the gamut of paravidya, and I'm just touching upon few of them just to give you a glimpse what more we have to do in this human life. It is not only about reading our engineering books and doing the job and then just get the earning, come back home. This is not our routine. By being a human life, our routine is to also grow in the field of paravidya. So by touching upon these two qualities, dhi and vidya, we only feel more motivated to make the best use of this human life and demystify the secret about the self and secret about the universe, secret about the creator as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. That was a very detailed explanation, which gave us a lot of information and a lot to think about. Thank you for that. It was such a great explanation. And before we go to a short break for the bhajan, one small follow-up question on those two things, which I'm sure some of our listeners also have, which is with the development of dhi and vidya, often one, not really trap, but one sort of danger which arises is the danger of becoming overconfident or overly, let's say, self-loving, in the sense that you now think that you have all this information or you have this incredible intellect that is so special, and you start to maybe act a little differently. Maybe you start to develop a small ego even. So what does Dharma have to say, or how does Dharma counterbalance the kind of what could arise as we move forward on the path of dhi and vidya?
In fact, the answer lies in the other qualities that the dharma stand on. For example, when you touch upon Satya, in fact, I must talk on that quality now itself to answer your question to save the time. The next quality of Dharma is Satya, which means truth. So you don't just grow only one quality of Dharma, but human Dharma stands on 10 qualities. And the most prominent quality is the quality of Satya, means the quality of truth. Which truth? Truth about you, truth about Creator, truth about any other entity which does not change. Truth is something that does not change. So when you grow in Paravidya, when you grow in the domain of Vidya and grow your intellect, you also happen to discover, where the knowledge exists, who is the owner of the knowledge, where is the knowledge originating from. It is something like this. No, there is a proverb in India. It says, "Adhajal gagri chalkat jai." What it means is, when the pot is half full, it is only then the water will just spill and it will be turbulent. But when the water is full, it has no space to jump around. So there's no jumping, there's no space for jumping, because the pot is already filled with water. There's no space for water to jump around. But only when it is half full, then only there's a space to jump around and it will spill over and all that. Same is the state with Vidya and Dhi. Only when we are half aware, only when we do not know the complete truth about who is holding the complete knowledge, where is the realm of knowledge, only when we do not know certain things, that is when we even confuse ourselves and we develop for some ego for something that truly does not belong to us. But when you grow your wisdom, when you grow your intellect, you only become humble, because then you realize and you experience it, that it is all based on the supreme consciousness of Almighty, which is inside me, which is outside me. Even the happiness, even the little smile that I am getting, everything is coming from the Almighty. This very wisdom comes with the highest scale of Vidya and highest scale of Dhi. So when you literally grow and reach to that scale, you only become humble. You only surrender more. You only become more loving. You only become more compassionate. The ego, the pride that we are, kind of fearful of developing is only midway. But when you develop these qualities under the guidance of able master, there are certain other technique that we follow on daily basis, which keeps these negativity in check, which we'll talk at the end of these 10 qualities. We are anyway going to cover what are the fundamental way of leading the life in Vihangam Yoga, through which not only you grow these qualities day by day, but as Abhinavji raised the point that how can we counter the ego, the pride that we develop, even those things are taken care by certain principles of Vihangam Yoga, which we'll touch upon at the end of these 10 qualities. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. That was a very beautiful answer, especially the analogy of the pot was beautiful. So let's Let's take a quick break and let's go towards Sankalpji from India, who'll be sharing a short bhajan with us. And we'll come back, go through the last quality of Dharma, and then start to look at how we can develop certain practices which help us become a dharmic individual. So handing over now to Sankalpji from India.
Jai Sadgurudev to all. So today's bhajan is taken from Sabd Prakash. So here is the bhajan now. Bhagavan sharan hu tera, koi dusra na mera, koi dusra na mera. कैसे आराधु तो ही प्रभु जानिए जन्मों ही, प्रभु जानिए जन्मों ही। चंदन चढ़ाऊं कैसे, शिर व्याक्त नाही ऐसे, पुष्पमाल देव जो ही, उर कंठ नाही तो ही। भगवान शरण हूँ तेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा। अणु के विकास तेरा, रवि चंद्र है घनेरा। परदीप क्या दिखाऊं, मैं आज्ञा बन लजाऊं। भगवान शरण हूँ तेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा। सारे विश्व के हो भरता, क्या भोग देऊं नरता। स्वर शब्द से तो ही भाऊं, घड़ी शंख क्या बजाऊं। भगवान शरण हूँ तेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा। बाएं दाहिने स्वामी तू ही, पीछे आग्र में हो तू ही। अर्ध ऊर्ध देश तो ही, विभु मध्य में हो तो ही। भगवान शरण हूँ तेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा। सर्वांग देश माही, अनुदेश जहाँ नाही। किस देश हाथ लाऊं, तो ही शीर कैसे नाऊं। भगवान शरण हूँ तेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा। मन बुद्धि तो ही न जाने, तप बांग क्या तुमाने। क्या गगन पावलाऊं, अनहद क्या बजाऊं, भगवान शरण हूँ तेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा। के ही भांते तोहे रिझाऊं, कोई युक्ति नाही पाऊं। सदा फल आश तेरा, प्रभु ले हो सोधि मेरा, भगवान शरण हूँ तेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा, कोई दूसरा न मेरा। सद्गुरुदेव की जय।
Thank you, Sankalp ji. Always lucky to have you join us. So thank you for that beautiful bhajan. Bhagwan Sharan Hutera. This is a beautiful devotional song sung in the feet of the masters and the guides of the seeker, who says that I am devoting myself and emptying myself and putting myself in your feet. Please guide me in the right direction. So thank you, Sankalpji, for joining us. And let's get back to our discussion for this week. Again, topic for this week, Controlling Mind, Lesson 3, a daily schedule, Session 2. So back to Vijay, we just spoke about the 3 qualities we'd reached from last week, those being Dhi, Vidya, and Satya, which is truth. And the last one we've now reached is Akrodh, which is lack of or having no anger. So after this, we can start to look at some of the practices we can employ in our lives. Considering the amount of time we have left this week, we'll likely get to morning routine and maybe throughout the day, but let's see how we go. So I'll hand back to you, Vijay, to take us through the last quality of Dharma, which is Akrodh, and then let's start a discussion on the practices we can employ.
Yeah, sure. And looking at the time, I'll quickly try to wrap it up. In fact, little bit more on Satya, the truth first. In our Guru has written in Swarved about how to conduct our life, from morning to evening. He has said, Rahni Gahni Sant ki Karani Vimal Vivek, Satya Satya Rah Satya Me, Satya Bhesh Satya Take. So our Guru says that the conduct of a Vihangam Yogi is always based on truth, whether be the thought, the actions, the speech, even the desires, ambitions, everything should be for the truthful entities and for the truth. Only when it is truth all over, it is only in that ambience of truth that you will eventually purify your intellect, purify your mind, purify your soul, and live with utmost peace. You will develop tremendous opportunity to grow in the meditation practice also by only, leading your life in truth. In fact, those who live the life in truth alone can enter into the gamut of Paravidya. Paravidya is not exposed to the fellow who live with lies, who live with falsehood. Only when from inside and outside we become truthful, it is then the gamut of Paravidya opens up for us. So truth is our righteous, the pillar of our life. If we don't base our life on truth, there is no possibility of attaining the restfulness of our mind. Mind is restless all because of impurities, and mind is restful when it is surrounded by truthfulness, purity. And this is why truth is the only way out for us to attain utmost peace of mind and tremendous bliss that exists just inside, would also expose to us only by leading the life in truth. Akrodh, as the name suggests, akrodh means no anger. It doesn't need any great deal of explanation that when you get in anger, you lose your intellect. And then you later only regret, how could I do this? In anger, we sometimes do certain actions which causes the loss of our, not only the relationship, but also maybe the resources, the money. In fact, our guru says that क्रोध से तन धन नाश है, क्रोध से बढ़त अशांति. By krodh, not only you harm your body, but you also lose the money, the resources, just in anger. You do certain thing which causes a lot of loss in your life. You also lose the peace of your life when you are in anger. So just by holding on to this notion that in all adverse situation, I still have to hold on to the peace in my head. I should not allow the anger to grow. By you holding on to the sense of forgiveness, you also calm the anger of others who are otherwise, angry and, behaving in anger, something which, can irritate you as well. But when you hold on to akrodh, the quality of akrodh, by holding on to patience, by holding on to forgiveness, you could also hold on to akrodh, meaning no anger. And by that, you will only spread peace and happiness around you. In fact, those who will come in anger will get pacified by looking at your calmness, by looking at your patience. That's the beauty of akrodh. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that beautiful explanation. And I just want to take a moment to really recognize that we've just gone through these 10 qualities, which they are all each very deep concepts, and they each have an ocean behind them. If we really wanted to, we could probably spend 10 weeks talking about going through each of them one by one. But I think in the remit of these last two sessions, I think our discussion with Vijay has really given us an appreciation for the crux or the very fundamental essence of each of these. So if you're listening in and you want to learn more about these, please do write into us. We're really keen to know which ones you'd like to hear more about. Are there particular ones which you feel are more troubling in the sense of, maybe you feel like you really want to develop one quality of dharma more powerfully than the rest? I would actually say to stop for a moment and to reflect on what Vijay explained, which is that each of these are interconnected. There's counterbalancing and balancing inbuilt into the system. So again, any questions, any thoughts, please do write into us. We're really keen to continue diving into these. So with the last 10 minutes or so we have, it'd be really good for us to maybe take away a few things for morning routine. So the morning is the start of the day, as we all know. And often, as many of you would have experienced, there's certain things you can do in the morning which prepare you better, certain things which maybe make you feel a little lazier, a little more lethargic, and make it difficult to get through the day or to even start the day. So Vijay, just to shortly touch on morning routine, and we'll continue our discussion next week. What are some of the things which we can do in the morning which align us with these principles we've already talked about of Dharma? And what are they and how do they work?
Sure. In fact, I would like to bring that analogy of farming just to build the foundation so that we can quickly go through those routine that a Vihangam Yogi follows. In a farming process, what are the components which are important? You need a fertile ground, you need the seed, and you need the water. At least these three fundamental things are needed for a crop to grow, the fruits to grow, the tree to grow. You need a fertile land. So how will the fertile land be prepared within you? Because you also want to grow these dharma, these 10 righteous qualities within you. So you need a fertile land, you need the seed of these dharmas, and you need the rainwater. So what are these three things in you that you can incorporate or you can take the benefit of? The fertile land is prepared by something called sadhana. You remember in few weeks ago, we had gone through the forest framework. In that, we had seva, sadhana, and satsang. The fourth one was swadhyay. Seva, sadhana, satsang are the three things which are going to take care of these three components for farming the qualities within you. The fertile land will be prepared by sadhana. The seed will be provided by satsang, and the water will be provided by seva. In fact, if you just take care of these three things, you don't even have to pay attention to each of those 10 qualities to grow. It is something like if the rainwater happens, the crops will grow automatically and there'll be greenery in your garden just by the rain of 3 months or 4 months in a year. Rest of the year you have greenery, and you don't plan which fruit and how many fruits to grow in a tree. You don't plan anything at all. Everything happens automatically as long as the rain has happened timely. So in a nutshell, our daily routine should incorporate the component of seva, sadhana, and satsang. This is the crux of a Vihangam Yogi's life. Vihangam Yoga teaches us to do every action with the notion of seva, with the sense of service, be it looking after families, doing our duties at work, or be it attending satsang, these kind of sessions, or be it sitting for meditation. Without notion of seva, without notion of surrender, without sense of service, nothing can grow within you. Without the water, the seed cannot do. So seva is the most important thing in Vihangam Yogi's life. A Vihangam Yoga does everything with the notion of seva. If we live with the sense of service as much as we can, we would also see rise in the 10 qualities of dharma automatically. I am in seva. This very notion, this very purity of thought itself gives rise to other virtues of dharma, as stated in Svarved. Svarved says, seva uttam gun rahe sarv ratan gun khan chatur mas trinavatika evam ave gun gyan. So it says just by the rain of 3 months of rain itself, there is a greenery all around. So is the state of all these 10 qualities of dharma. They grow automatically just by the rain of seva bhav. This is why seva is at most important. How do we begin our day? In the morning, there are few things that a Vihangam yogi must do. One is Ushapan, which is about taking the lukewarm water the first thing in the morning. Then the study of Swarved, the book that I have been referring all these sessions. Meditation, prayer, physical exercises like asana, breathing, or any other kind of exercises, and a proper breakfast. So these are the minimum few things that we must do every morning. Ushapan is about drinking lukewarm water. Study of Swarved is what is imparting you the satsang, the seed of those guna, the dharmic guna. The seed will come from reading of Swarved on daily basis. It gives foundation to the development of all 10 attributes of Dharma. The truth, the wisdom, and the vibes of Swarved brings about purity of chitta, mind, intellect, and soul, as well as raise the scale of vidya, the knowledge, in very quick span of time. One starts developing the quality of dham, the indriya nigraha, the patience, forgiveness, truth, no anger, all such virtues just by the devotional study of Swarved. Please note that Dharma gives a lasting peace of mind, and hence a peace-loving person, one aspiring to have a controlled mind, cannot stay away from Swarved. So our morning routine must include reading Swarved. Along with that, practicing meditation, offering prayer, physical exercise, Ushapan. These are in a nutshell. We'll elaborate more later, but yes, this is in a nutshell. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Vijay. And yeah, as you mentioned, let's definitely continue discussing these in the coming week. I think we'll have to stop our discussion with Vijay here for this week. So thank you again for joining us. We learn a lot from your reflections and explanations. So thank you, and let's reconvene next week with you and continue discussing these topics.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you, Vijay. And with that, we come toward the end of another week on the Vihangam Yogi Global Online Satsang. This week's topic was Controlling Mind, Lesson 3, a daily schedule, Session 2. As we sort of discussed near the end there, we'll likely continue this very topic and discussion in the coming week. Thankfully and wonderfully, we've never reached a point where we've understood the 10 essential qualities of Dharma and what they each mean, how they interact with each other, how they counterbalance each other. And, there's a key intuition here that the yogis and the science of spirituality is so subtle that the more subtle we become, the more we begin to align with these different forces which between each other and within themselves counterbalance and balance each other. And through that, we start to notice that there's certain names which emerge for the way in which we are acting. Words like dhriti for patience, chama for forgiveness, dham for detached state of indriya, asteyam, shauch, indriya nigra, dhi, vidya, akrodh. Each of these words start to emerge as, truthful statements about how we are actually acting. And they all kind of converge towards satya, the most essential quality of Dharma. So let's reconvene next week and continue discussing this very interesting topic. Coming week, we'll bring it all together and give you a set of practices which you can use for your morning, daily, lunch, night routine, and then go toward another level in your spiritual journey. So thank you everyone for joining us, and let's reconvene next week. Jai Sudhir.